Hey everybody, welcome to another video with me, Brendan. Today, I've been thinking, as we head into 2021, what are all the things that in 2020 I didn't get round to doing? Or more accurately, what do I think 2020 stopped me from doing? Often that comes around when you think about New Year's resolutions and habits and how are we going to kickstart the new year with a fantastic set of new habits and putting aside all of the old ones. It's not often as easy as that. Think about it. We are living in some very strange time. You might have cottoned on that I'm sat in my kitchen. Some of these might give it away, but this is where I'm based now. Not all the time from the kitchen, just this is my office. We're dealing with such funny times with COVID that it's thrown everything out, and it's easy to forget that all of the plans that we had for 2020 probably either got cast aside, ignored, kind of the same thing, deferred, or just scratched. They're all really the same way of saying, did we actually get to do what we wanted to do? I, for one, haven't managed to do it. Certainly as I look back over 2020, there are some habits that I feel like I've neglected. It was funny when looking at my Apple Health stats, the steps that I used to do between April and May massively dropped. Funnily enough, it coincided with COVID lockdown number 1 here in the UK, and it was a realization that I'd let my movement slip. I got stuck behind the desk, bombarded by Zoom calls. You know, I have mixed feelings about Zoom. I actually don't mind having Zoom meetings, but you do get massive Zoom overload. The rest of us, we've been battling with just keeping life going. I heard the phrase used the other day that we're actually trying to live at work now. I can identify with that. There's a far less separation between your working life and your leisure life. If you're battling with childcare or you're looking after elderly parents or loved ones and you're having to deal with all of the restrictions and limitations that's going on with COVID, it can be quite overwhelming. So as I took stock around what 2020 had held for me, I started to look at the habits which I hadn't quite got round to instilling properly. I've always had aspirations of getting more into reading. It's easy to sit here in the beginning of January and say, you know what, I am going to read more, and then 3 weeks in think, actually I just put Netflix on. Especially when you've had a really shit day at work and all you want to do is just unwind. Well, unwinding used to be reading. Reading is so insightful, and if you can get into it, you can get lost into the thoughts and images that you conjure up in your mind. There's a reason why J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter managed to kind of bring so many people on the imaginative journey that she creates. It's not just about those fancy sort of throwaway habits that you want to try and do. It's actually about saying, how can you give yourself the best possible chance to succeed if you begin to create those new habits? As I said, I started to look back and I planned out what I want to do for 2021 as far as I can, knowing that we're not really allowed to leave these four walls or certainly venture out into the big wide world and do the things that we used to do. I used to love endurance challenges, Ironmans, Pikes Peak Marathon, running up a mountain. That was pretty brutal, or cycling length of the country just aren't options at the moment. Even if they were, is it really the right thing to do, knowing that the heroes for our NHS and other carers are just battling to save lives? Probably not. But it does give us a great chance to sit back and think, how are we going to improve and basically give 2021 the boost that it needs and the big to 2020? I started to look at the habits. So one of the habits I wanted to be able to improve, or wanted to instill, is probably the more accurate way of saying it, is I want to reduce my screen time. Specifically, the time that is wasted in front of the television. Now, some of you might sit there and think if you're watching a Netflix series and you're watching The Queen's Gambit, it might not be time wasted, but it can be. Especially if you don't move quick enough in the first 5 seconds, it ticks over and all of a sudden you're watching the next episode, it's 1:30 in the morning, you're thinking, shit, I've got to get up in 5 hours, or 6 hours, whatever it might be. But I've set myself the goal of reducing my TV time, and specifically I want to use that to then be more productive and get into the habit of reading again. I love buying books. I mean, my other half rolls her eyes when all of a sudden another book arrives in the post. I listen to Audible, so I'm listening to these books, and these books just get put on the shelf, and I hope one day to be able to build a library. But until that happens, I need to start working my way through them. So how am I going to go about that? Well, I firmly believe that your habits should support a particular goal. Now, obviously, when we talk about goals, you think about objectives, and some smart Alec will probably at some point say, it's got to be smart, specific, measurable, realistic, achievable and timely. That doesn't quite make smart, but you know what I mean. If everything you're doing in that particular instance isn't aligned to a particular goal, it can be easy to fall off track. If I think about the habit that I want to instill, watching less TV just doesn't cut it. What does that really mean? Watch less TV. Okay, I'll watch 55 minutes, not 60 minutes. Nailed it. Yeah, that doesn't really work. I'll just watch it on a Saturday. Okay, does that really work either? So what I've decided to do is to say, okay, at least 2 days a week, I'm going to reduce the TV to zero. TV to zero, that's probably not quite right. I'm going to not watch television in the evenings. Sounds simple. But what I'm going to do is also say I'm going to do it for the first 3 months of 2021. Give yourself 90 days, 3 months, 30 days, 1 month, whatever it might be for you, the chance to get into a good habit. We must also acknowledge that during this period, the chances are we're going to fail. At some point, things are going to go wrong. You're going to have had a really shitty day, and all of a sudden you're going to put the television on, sit back, maybe have a glass of something nice, and just take life easy. But that's why your goals have got to be slightly flexible and your habits have got to move with the times. So for me, I'm not going to be particularly rigid around the days which I do it. At this stage, I do have in mind the days that I'm going to do it. I'm going to aim for a Tuesday and a Wednesday. I don't know why I did 2, because 2 stands for Tuesday, but it doesn't. Anyway, so I'm going to try and do 2 days a week, and that might be Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Why? Because at the beginning of the week, I think it's going to be more beneficial, and it's going to be easier for me to instill that habit to begin with. It's really important also that we use the right language when we're talking about habits. I will try, I might think about, I could possibly, isn't just going to cut it. You want to say I will, I can, I do. I have a mantra that says people are capable of more than they realise. They just don't know it. They might not actually have the support network. They might not have the encouragement or the inspiration. And that's what you will need. Now, I know it's easy to fail because life gets hard and things get pushed, and all of a sudden, and the easy way out means that you don't end up doing what you need to do. But if you invoke the right language, being able to pull it all together actually makes it far easier. You might call it a self-fulfilling prophecy. I will think about doing this means that you're not really sure, which means you're lacking a bit of confidence, which we all do when we start. Therefore, I'm not going to put myself out there too much. It could be a bit painful. Actually, I'm just going to give it an arm's length. Yeah, let's not do that. So I will try. As opposed to, I'm going to because I can and I will and I want to, and it means a lot to me. It's important. 2 totally different points of view, but they can easily make quite a difference. Now at this point, it's worth mentioning one little tip that will help you as you set out your habits to determine how easy or difficult it's going to be. It's something called the flow channel. Developed about 50 odd years ago, it plots difficulty against time and skill. Now those 2 axes help us determine where we go next. So if you have difficulty and time and skill, what does it look like? Well, in the very top half, there will be difficulty. Those habits or those goals which fill you with a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of stress. You're thinking, actually, gosh, I'm not entirely sure whether I can do it. Okay, fine. And then on the bottom half, there are those which might be too easy. As a result, you might end up getting bored and letting the habit slip, or just over-exceeding and therefore losing interest. What's left in the middle is what they call the flow channel. So you will ebb and flow as you go between difficulty and easy, bouncing off the perimeters. If you find a habit that fits in there, you are more likely to succeed, and it's more likely to keep you captivated and interested. Think about it to the last time you decided to set a new habit. Where did it really fit on those axes? Did you give yourself a chance of actually succeeding? Or was it too difficult? Or did you play it super safe and just think, actually, I can do this, so it fell right in the easy column? Only you will know that. It's a great way of plotting out where you think your new habit might fall. You're aiming for that flow channel, that piece in the middle, that sweet spot that allows you just to go, okay, this is going to be a bit of a challenge, but I got this. I know you got it. Sounded a bit American there. I know you got this, but you do. If you can find something that allows you to fall into the flow channel, you stand a far greater chance of success than if you set something that's too hard or too easy. Ignore the fingers, I don't know what they're doing. The one part that underpins all of this is taking action consistently. It won't sell many fitness books or programs because consistency is really boring. Getting yourself into the same place time and time again to keep doing the small things is going to get you to where you want to be, but it isn't very sexy, it isn't very exciting. Sometimes it's really effing boring. But it's those simple, not always simple, it's those small everyday steps that begin to move you to where you want to be. So for me, to be able to reduce the screen time, turn the TV off, and when I finish my day at work, don't walk into the living room and turn the TV on. Go and do something else. I'm going to turn the radio on instead. I love the radio, but that's something else. Give yourself a chance, and then the following day, do the same. There are going to be days, especially if you're trying to improve your health and fitness, where you just don't want to do it. Get up early, do a few press-ups, get the heart rate going, lift a few weights. You will definitely feel better for it, but there will be times that you don't want to do it at all. That's when it counts. Also think about marking out on your calendar those days, weeks or months as you look forward throughout the rest of this year, where you know that life is going to get a little bit hectic. Which are the weeks that are going to cause you potential problems in dealing with your new habits? So for example, maybe less so now that we're working from home, but if you have childcare issues over, say, half term, how is that going to impact the new habit that you want to instill now? Are you going to need to bring in some extra help? Are you going to need to be a bit more flexible, move it towards the beginning and the end of the week? Are you going to have to create some more time, get up earlier, stay up later? Whatever it is. Have a look and look forwards. Because if you know when your most difficult periods are going to be, it just means that you can plan for them. And planning means that you're going to give yourself the best possible chance to succeed. The final part is that you're going to need to have some accountability when you implement your new habits. Now, it might not just be making a video. You might want to turn around to your other half or a friend or a colleague and say, by the way, this is the habit I'm trying to instill. Can you help keep me accountable? Don't be afraid. It doesn't have to be as formal as that. Just say to somebody, I'm going to try and make it to the gym 3 times next week. Can you ask me on Friday if I did it? See how that goes. Accountability is one of those tools that will just help you move towards your goal and help you instill that habit. It doesn't have to be a huge grand gesture. Just tell somebody and ask them to keep you accountable. That's what friends are for. So why not ask? Now thinking about it, you're going to have a few ground rules as I implement my new habit, and you should probably think about the same. As I mentioned earlier, I'm going to go for Tuesdays and Wednesdays. But those days are flexible. If the work gets really busy and for whatever reason I need to move them, then I will do. I'm also not going to beat myself up about it if I don't get it absolutely right. Mentally, I'm going to let it go. Life will get in the way. There's nothing you can do about it. But how you deal with that is going to be hugely important. Worry about what you can control and what you can't control. Just let go. Easier said than done, but please don't ruminate. Ruminating and overthinking and hypothesizing and make stuff up, it just sends you into a spiral which can lead you into some very dark places, and to be quite honest, is a complete waste of mental energy. No good can come from overthinking things. By all means, talk to people. Now, that absolutely is a great way to go, and if anything, as a young man, I probably haven't spoken enough in the past. Although my friends will probably tell me I talk too much shit anyway. But the point is, from a mental health perspective, don't bottle it up. Don't ruminate. Don't overthink things. Just talk to people. Also, one of the rules is that I'm going to reduce the TV screen time, but obviously I might need to keep the mobile phone around. I'm going to try and limit that as well. So really it is going to be a screen-free evening, but fully aware that things may have to change depending on work demands and family demands. But those are the 2 rules that I'm going with at the moment. So outside of that, as I head into 2021, one of the habits that I'm going after is a TV-free evening. 2, in actual fact. But the question is, what's the habit that you're going after? How easy or difficult are you going to make it? Who's going to hold you accountable? How are you going to plan to get there? What are you going to do should something go wrong, which I'm afraid it will do? And if you get it right, you start moving towards your goals, and who knows? By the end of the year, I might have reduced my TV consumption by 50%. Cool. Does that mean I should cancel my Netflix subscription? Nah, I love movies too much. Anyway, that's beside the point. What I want you to take away is that you can do this, and having habits that help and give you a positive life can only be a good thing. They're not easy, because anything worth having in life is hard work. Otherwise, everybody would have it, obviously. And with that, I'm going to say have a great day. As always, my name is Brendan. Please do feel free to leave me a comment, tell me what your new habit is, tell me if this has been helpful, do you like it? In fairness, tell me whether the hoodie clashes too much with the background or whether you like any of the wines in the back. And with that, I will see you all in the next video. Cheers.